Welcome to the Doc Gallagher Radio Highlights. Doc is on the air Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. on KAAM Legend 770. Got a question or a comment for Doc? You can reach him at 1-800-GFG-4-DOC. Now, here are some highlights from one of Doc's top shows.
Why would someone have to move their mother into a nursing home or out of a nursing home 3 times? What could be going on in nursing homes that would cause that? Well, let's talk about that. Now, by the way, I just want to make sure everyone understands this is not a slam against nursing homes. There are many, many wonderful nursing homes. We're also talking about the fact, however, that it has been documented that 20% of nursing homes have had serious tragedies, in many cases fatalities. There are cases of malnutrition, dehydration, sexual abuse, financial abuse, and you want to make sure that doesn't happen to your loved one. It certainly doesn't happen to you if you ever have to choose a nursing home. Let's talk about these nine most common problems that I have observed while I have been helping folks and counseling them in the whole nursing home arena. Why are we even concerned about nursing homes? Because we believe that human life is valuable. Why do we have a concern about long-term care for ourselves? Well, let's talk about for our loved ones. Why do we have a concern about long-term care for our loved ones? Why are we concerned about the quality of home health care, assisted living, nursing home care? Because there's a fundamental concept deeply rooted in the American culture, and that's the Judeo-Christian concept that life is valuable. That life is valuable, life is precious. That's why abortion is an outrage, because we know that life is precious and life is valuable. And why the Supreme Court allegedly saw a right to stick a fork in a baby's head is absolutely obscene. Well, because we know that life is valuable, life is precious, it was built into our original documents that the inalienable rights of men and women come because they were put there by their Creator. That's what our original document said. And that's why we have this basis in our culture that human life is valuable. That's why cultures that don't have that can do things like do suicide bombings, because in the Muslim culture, in the Quran, there is not this respect for human life, that human life is valuable. Now, because human life is valuable, we, unlike the Nazis and the terrorists who can brutalize human life and think that they're performing something virtuous, we know that human life, whether it's old and smelly and decrepit or young and helpless, all human life is valuable because men and women are made in the image of God. That makes them worthy of unconditional love and makes us want to give unconditional love. Human life is valuable. Therefore, that's why we want to make sure our mothers and our dads, our grandparents, our spouses are taken care of with dignity and cleanliness and safety in their final years. The other one I'll just throw in for free. What do you mean, Doc, when you say property is sacred? You have heard me say that this is the greatest time to live ever in the history of the world, and this is the greatest country ever to live in. That's a historical fact. That's not a patriotic cliche. That's a historical fact. I've lived around the world, and if in most of the world today, if people have one meal today, they're doing good. We have this other fundamental concept in our culture that property is sacred and private. In other words, no one can tell me what to do with the money in my checking account or the money of my house or my car. That is mine. And that is unusual. That is extraordinary in the history of the world, where the state or the government, and there's an increasing, as you know, there's an increasing push in our culture for government to get involved in telling people what they can do with their house, what they can do with their body, what they can do with their money. No, that's that whole liberal slant that government knows more than you do, which we resist. Ann Coulter in a book rightly said it. The fundamental difference between liberals and conservatives, conservatives know that they are made in the image of God and ultimately answerable to God. Liberals believe they are God. Therefore, they're not answerable to anyone except their whims and their immediate needs, which is primarily an immediate need they perceive for power. Well, here are the 9 most common mistakes. Number 1, talking now about nursing homes. Some nursing homes, I know this doesn't apply to everyone, but being forewarned will give you what you need to make sure that you have a nursing home that's appropriate for your spouse, for your grandparent, for your parent. Number one is lack of surveillance. Lack of surveillance. Insist that your loved one be in a nursing home where they have video surveillance. Just like they now have in grocery stores and banks and many other places, video surveillance. So that that nurse at the nurse's station can see if your loved one is, if their possessions are being lifted by some of the staff. If that loved one of yours is being abused or screamed at or hit or punched, if they're being fed on a regular basis. We recognize that RN at the nurse's desk cannot go to all 20 rooms every 5 or 10 minutes, but make sure they're in a nursing home that has that video surveillance so that there is someone watching. You remember, when we get older, that we collapse into a state like we were when we were infants. We are helpless. We are totally vulnerable. Make sure that someone is watching so that your loved one or you is not a victim of some type of abuse.